Right. Are we live? I don't I don't want to go through what I went through the last time, like trying to figure out if I was live or not. I am, let's see, I'm going to double check on the other screen whether or not I am live or not. Sorry. But yes, so I am live. Okay. All right. Done. We're done with that. I'm still learning, right? This is new to me. And so, I have lots of questions that I got from folks who either saw the stream last time live or missed it and, caught it afterward. And so I'm excited to go over all that. I wanted to say welcome to everybody. If you are, let me just go into the chat also and make sure I am monitoring that. So yeah, if you are live or watching it after the fact, you are welcome. Disclaimer at the top, right? So anything that I talk about is my own opinion and has nothing to do with the company that I work for. So I think I hope everyone's having a good holiday weekend if you celebrate this weekend as a holiday. And I hope you're staying safe. I know I probably got into, probably said, was a little more vocal maybe than I needed to be last night at a barbecue. But it's like, when you start mixing, kids, pyrotechniques and alcohol, I get a little nervous. And so that started happening. And anyway, just stay safe because I did say something, and I think everything's fine, but I think I probably ruffled some feathers, but I just was nervous. We're talking; these were like professional grade. These were not just like these were fireworks. So anyway, so I will move on from that, and I just wanted to also go over a couple of things that I mentioned last week that I wanted to just go into a little more detail. So I kind of glossed over the fact that I think I showed my screen at one point and you were able to see that I was using the Microsoft free versions of Word and PowerPoint, and I just wanted to point that out. Like if you're not familiar with, you can create a live account like either Outlook or even Hotmail. I know it's old, but if you create an account, it's all free. And if you're looking for a job, a lot of times they want the resume in, DocX, which there are lots of ways to create a DocX. But this is one way that's kind of simple, and it gives you access to Excel and access to PowerPoint and all these other tools with a decent amount of space, right, where you can store things and have your own repository. So I just wanted to mention that as part of a tool that you can use in your quest for your new career. The other thing that I wanted to say was one other thing I wanted to point out, actually. I got a lot of notes. I'm very excited about today's stream. So let me also show you this week in forensics. I talked about some tools and things that you can use as you are looking to get into the space. And it's like, I'm blown away by this site. This site is run by a gentleman named Phil Moore, who is just the nicest guy, and he's been in the business forever. And I know now he has, I think he's had at least one addition to the family, possibly more, and he still keeps going with this. And it's just, you can look through this, and if you want to kind of know what's going on in cybersecurity, just 1 week at a time, right? Because there's always so much going on. It's just endless. And you can look through this and you can see, we talked about Brad Duncan a little bit as well. Brad's in here. There are a couple, Black Hills is in here, one of my favorite. John Hammond. I learned so much from John Hammond, which I also, could point someone to. Someone asked me just this week, a colleague of mine was asking, I think I'm ready to get more into, into pen testing and forensics and that kind of thing. And I said, I said, what's a good way to get into that and get into like the CTF space as well? And I said, go to John Hammond's stream, and he walks through Pico CTF. Now this is old; it's like a year old now. I think it was last year's Pico CTF, but he'll walk you through like almost every single challenge in the 2022 Pico CTF. I mean, I was blown away at how much I learned from that. Just unbelievable. So check that out as well. And I'll put all of these in the notes, as well when everything is over. The last thing I wanted to talk about before we get into the questions. And let me keep up with the chat. Can you see? Oh, can see you and hear you. Thank you so much. Yes, I have. That is from one of my friends on the internet that I met, and I have lots of questions from that friend, which we will get into in a second. So I wanted to talk just a minute about your path to cybersecurity. I think last week I kind of threw in or mentioned in passing that, what was sort of my path to cybersecurity, right? But what a lot of people might not know about me, and what I should mention, is that I had a completely different career for almost 12 years. Before I ever got into cybersecurity, I was a television executive of all things. I worked for some big name celebrities. Probably met at that point. They're older now. They aren't as popular, but like every celebrity, like just, it was, these were talk shows and they came on and there was a new celebrity every day. And so, that's where I started, right? And so it was a really great gig, and I would work it was a very truncated work day. It started at like 10:30, and by 2:33 you were done. So I would, hustle. I would go downtown. I lived in, Manhattan. I'd go downtown and I'd put up flyers all over, like on laundromats and every place you were allowed to put flyers about, do you need help with tech? And I would go to some of the clients. It was so fun. I had this one punk rocker who was an up and coming punk star, and had a home studio but needed a lot of help, and the clients that you would get. But that's kind of how I got started, right? And that was sort of an unofficial way to get my foot in the door. And it's a much longer story about how I got started, but I don't want to say that there's one path into cybersecurity. I mean, I kind of started at help desk, and for me that worked well, but I think we're going to see, I'm going to go into the questions here, and I think you'll see that there are some questions about what's maybe the best way to get in. And there are so many paths to get into cybersecurity. I mean, and what worked for me many years ago might not even be relevant anymore, right? I mean, it was a long time ago, and there have been a lot of changes. And so, but I'll try to briefly answer a lot of these questions. I'm going to start with one that I got from LinkedIn, and then I'm going to go into the other ones, just because I think this is kind of a quick question. So it talks about imposter syndrome, and how do I, can I address, imposter syndrome, in the cybersecurity space? It's everywhere. It's in every career, right? But it's definitely within cybersecurity. And if you're, and I think the question goes on to say, if you're trying to deal with that and you have, job interviews, it's tough, right? Because you're doing a lot of these interviews, possibly you're doing them virtually, right? And so, you're having to go on camera, which is something I'm not crazy about, by the way. And it's nerve-wracking, right? But the one thing I will say about imposter syndrome is that these are lies. These are all lies that we tell ourselves, and they're skewed and they're not true. And my best way that I can tell you to it's different for everybody, but for me, imposter syndrome, I just tell myself like that's ridiculous. It's a lie. It's just, you get these negative thoughts in your head and don't believe them. Just use behavior modification. Think about something that you did that really was a success, and fill your mind with that, and just, try to use behavior modification and not let yourself think these and believe these lies. They're just lies. So I'm trying to keep up with the chat here. I see there are a couple people. Oh my gosh, Tom is in the chat. Tom, I can't scroll down in this chat. I don't know why. Let me just move the window. I'm using OBS, but it's not. Oh my gosh, White Cyberduck. Hey. Hi. Aw, Cryptic Hubris. Hi back. Hi back. All right, so we will get into the questions, the next set of questions. I appreciate these questions, by the way, because, you know, I'm sort of like taking questions in advance now because I don't know if people are going to be available right at 5:30 every week, right? So one of the questions starts out, you know, I'm a self-study student in networking and InfoSec, and I'm worried that I'm coming in during a big wave of, you know, of people getting into the industry, right? Do I think it's going to hiring is going to slow down or speed up? Well, here's the thing. I mean, the industry is booming. It is booming. There are a lot of layoffs. There are a lot of companies who have hiring freezes right now. But I mean, the industry still is going strong. And I think there will be jobs in tech for a long, long, long time. And so, you know, I get it that you're coming in during a time when, you know, the market is flooded with great talent, right? Because you have all the recent graduates right now. You know, you have a lot of seasoned talent that got laid off. But you just need one job. You just need one job. And you might not even be looking for the same job, you know, at that level that a lot of the other people that have been laid off. I mean, they have experience. If they've been laid off, they've got experience, right? Which if you're just coming out of school or training, you know, you're probably looking at a different entree, right? A completely different level. And then the next thing is I'm mainly studying InfoSec, but while I'm on that path, I discovered I really enjoyed networking. Is there a more specific role that kind of combines the two? Yeah, there are. I mean, especially, you know, it's interesting. There are a lot of ways I think I could answer that. So, of course, there's always the obvious network architecture, right? We always need people that create those schematics and the network maps that we so often need and don't have. But there's also within the field, like some of the tools that I use every day, I have to be able to look at PCAPs. I have to be able to look at, email headers and things like that. And I have to be able to figure that out. And so there is a bit of networking there because, and I need to be able to run malware samples, right, in a lab. And I need to be able to understand how I can network my machine so that I can, it can behave like it's really calling out, but it's not really, right? Or, and then I need to be able to look back at that traffic and figure out what was it doing. So I'm not sure if that's the kind of networking you had in mind, but if not, there's just the old standard, right, of network architecture, network administration. There's a lot of, network administration work that sometimes is easier to get than maybe something, a little more advanced right out of the box. Cryptic Hubris says networking can be a huge part of InfoSec. I went in the opposite direction. Networking to start and moving into cybersecurity. Yeah, I agree. So I hope I addressed that question okay, at least. I might not be the best person to ask that, but I gave it my best try. So next question is, I'm coming into InfoSec and networking as a career change from teaching overseas most of my adult life. So I don't have a driver's license, can't drive, and currently live somewhere tens of miles away from any public transportation. I know, I miss walkable cities, yes. Do I think the prospect of remote work is pretty good? I do think it's pretty good. Now, I will say this. I know that this is not what you asked, but I will say, because I'm a mom and I have 2 daughters, and I will say that, it wouldn't hurt to try to get a driver's license. I know you can't drive. You said you can't drive, right? And, if there was a friend who does drive, who was willing to teach you, And you can pay for classes. I know, driving classes. I know I was just talking about that last night at this party because it's no longer offered in our school system here. And so, I was going to teach, of course, the kids how to drive. But, if I do that, there's not apparently if you pay to have the drivers, the driving school, then you get a bigger break on insurance than, and it's 20% off. So I may do that. I may just bite the bullet. I don't know, but I'll still teach that. But yeah, that's tough if you if you cannot and you're not near public transportation. I would say try to work on that and see if you can work your way up to get a driver's license. But to answer your question, because I know that wasn't your question, I think the prospect of remote work is awesome. I will just say this, and I learned this from the Cyber Mentor, hired someone, I think I mentioned it last time, this gentleman, Joe Hudson, who has been a recruiter for years and is a wealth of information. And he had said that, get it in writing, right? Because unless you get it in writing, companies can change their mind or change their rulings about things and how they want to do things. And if you have it in writing, you have a better chance of making sure that you can stay remote. But yes, I think there's a lot of remote work. Absolutely. And then the other question was about starting in help desk. I did mention that I kind of started in help desk. And the question is, if you have an opportunity to go straight to SOC or help desk, what might be the best pick? I mean, that's tough. I learned so much at help desk, but then I learned a ton at SOC, in a SOC. And I would say I would go with SOC, and here's why. You have access in a SOC to a lot of the tools that you're probably going to want to use, as you get more advanced, right? In fact, I would argue that, using the tools in a SOC, you become really, really good, and then you move up. You move up to the next level. And that's not where everyone starts, right? You can start just by teaching yourself, these things by taking classes online and, and try Hack Me and Hack the Box. And someone asked me last week to link, with them on LinkedIn to connect. And I saw that they were top 1% in Try Hack Me. And I'm like, wow, that's impressive. I mean, to me, that's impressive. I mean, yeah, you can game the system. I know, you could probably game the system and become 1%. I'm sure, because there's write-ups everywhere about how to solve them. You could just do that all day long and then, rise up, I suppose. But if you put those kind of things on your resume, to me, it looks good. It looks really good. So I would say, I would probably go SOC, go that route. Next question is, I don't have any formal education in any tech field, but I do have a bachelor's degree, and I've grown up immersed in computers. I've been fortunate enough the last few years to focus on self-study. So not having any formal education, is there any advice how I should approach job hunting or interviewing? Here's the thing. I mean, I think I mentioned it last stream, if you caught it, there was a recent, in January, you can Google it, CBS News did a whole piece on how some of the bigger companies are doing away with the bachelor's requirement. And you do have a bachelor's. And so, it's just, maybe it's not in a computer related, subject matter, but, you do have a degree. I mean, I would say, that's a good question. You have some certs and you have a degree. So, I mean, I don't think you need to really compensate for anything. I think you've got what you need. I mean, you have more, than some companies even require now, right? And look at the job requirements that you're going up for. And, even if it says bachelor's required and, you don't have a bachelor's, although you do, I know you do, but this is for other people as well. That doesn't mean you can't apply to that, right? I mean, these things, these as I mentioned before, I think last week, sometimes they're just looking for unicorns. They're writing these job descriptions for people who don't exist. Like it's an entry level position. But like, even if you're a senior, you might not have all those credentials that they're looking for and all of those requirements, fulfilled. I mean, it's, I wouldn't let that stop you. I hope that's helpful. So I think that is all of the questions that I had. If there's anyone in chat, I am able to see the chat now. If there's anyone that had any other questions, otherwise I might just call it, and I'll look over my notes. I wanted to talk about a few things. I think I covered everything. And so if there are not any other questions, I think we'll call it. And, thank you for joining. And, oh, you're welcome. You're very welcome. I hope, I gave it my best shot at answering the many questions. And it was a lot of fun, And I'm honored that you would want me to try to answer these for you. And so I guess we'll call it. And, maybe I'll have more questions next week, hopefully. Or maybe I can just come up with some questions on my own and talk. So, oh, good. I allayed some of your fears. Biggest question is getting back into the groove. Oh, gosh, you were laid off. Oh, so sorry. I've been there. I've been there more than once. Getting back into the groove. Well, doing job interviews is, for me, a good way to get back into the groove, because it's almost like sitting down with your manager, right? Because you think about it, that could be your future manager, and you're having to answer what they're looking for, right? And so that's a good way for me to get back into, tons of interviews. Just set up interviews, if you can, I know it's hard, but like, apply like a machine, right? And see if you can, get these interviews and get on there and, and get your foot in the door. And the other thing about, getting back into the groove, there's nothing better than getting back into the groove than doing these competitions, doing CTFs, doing, tri-hack-me's. And I know I mentioned last week, but I'm going to mention it again. So TCM Security has live streams at 12 noon Eastern every Tuesday. And I was just replaying an old one right before I came on stream. And I was just replaying it because a lot of times it's run by Alex Olson, this person they hired, and he'll go through like these different machines on Hack Me or Hack the Box. And, there was one in particular I was going through that was so much fun. It's, if you haven't seen it, it's the Pickle Rick. And what I'll do is I'll stream, I'll stream a few minutes, and then I'll just try things on my own. And this is one way I can tell I'm getting a lot better at this kind of thing, because like I'll try a million things that I've learned through doing so many of these now, that like then when I start playing it again, it's like, oh yeah, he talks about that, but I already tried that, so I must be learning something, right? And so the Pickle Rick is so much fun. That machine, if you haven't seen it, go back and look at their live stream for that one. It's a ton of fun. Also, one other thing is the Meta CTF. I have a lot of fun with those. And those are, if you take a Pay What You Can course from Black Hills, they have Pay What You Can training. Along with that training comes the Meta CTF, and you get that for like, I think 6 months. Now, I think depends what you pay. Like, it's Pay What You Can, but I think if you pay the minimum, then I think you only get 3 months of Meta CTF. I could be misquoting that, but I think you get something for that, and it's a great range. It's a lot of fun. So you're welcome, Cryptic Harris, and I hope to see everyone next week. And if you can't make it live, we'll play it back, right? So have a great week, everyone, and thanks.